today. My name is Marijoy Agoya, and with me I have my diverse panelists, and they're going to introduce themselves.
My name is Nicole Lucy, a human activist in Kenya.
And I am Rehema Osuri, a legal expert.
To start off, we are going to have a little overview of what the movie is about, and the movie The Hate U Give is about the Black community and how they face racial injustice, how they face police brutality. And the movie was written by Audrey Wells, it was directed by George Tillsman, and produced by Marty Bowen.
And in the movie, we have a character called Star, and Star comes from a Black community and goes to school in an all-white community. And Star struggles to find her identity within the community.
The movie was inspired by Tupac Shakur when he said the words thug, meaning the hate you give comes and screws everybody up, even the young kids in our community.
Can you identify and explain any communication concepts that were cited in the movie?
Yeah, there are quite several that were cited, and one is the interpersonal communication. This comes out where Star interacts with the students she meets in school and just how the people interact overall in the movie. And there is also the concept of non-verbal communication, where Star expresses her emotions in silence rather than using actual words, and that caters for non-verbal communication.
Furthermore, there is media literacy, whereby the media manipulated on how Khalil was killed and focused on what he used to do to survive in his daily activities. And the other one, the last one, is cultural identity and communication, how the Black community lived and how they were communicating in each other, how Star used to communicate within his Garden Heights neighborhood, and how she went to an all-white school and communicated with the other students, how she managed the communication.
Questions addressed, talking about who am I, why am I here, where did I come from, where am I going? So how does the movie tackle this?
So to start off with, who am I? This one is more about the identity of Star, like how does the movie bring out Star in the movie? So Star is a girl that tries to identify her identity in a community of all white. Remember, Star is an African American girl, so she really struggles to find what is really her identity in this community. Yes.
And why am I here?
Star is basically here to find her self-identity and to find her inner voice and her community. She navigates through this by fighting for Khalil, her best friend since she was...
Where am I going?
Okay, Star wants to create a better future for her community, and a community where they get justice and are treated equally to the people in the country.
Those were wonderful and great insights. And how successful was the movie in answering these questions?
Well, the movie, okay, personally, I don't think, or I rather don't feel like the movie met its expectation per se, though it met it to some percentage, but not as expected. So it met it, but not to the latter. Like, I expected Khalil to get justice, but I hope the writer will do better.
For me, the movie was fair in answering those questions because it wasn't really direct, but we actually saw the vision and we saw the movie through Star's eyes, which helped us.
Now, what messages of art and commerce does this movie promote?
First of all, overt, we can talk about the impact of the police brutality that happened to Khalil and the injustices and the trauma that it's brought to the society and the people in the film, like Star and their family, and even her younger brother, Sekani.
Yeah, and to add on that, no, not to add on it, but just to go through the covert one, there is a deeper meaning are from an African American community, so it is difficult to merge into that community.
And continuing from that, what value for people does these messages contain?
This message contains that we need to have courage and stand up for ourselves, like the way Star did. Like when you see someone who's being oppressed or marginalized because of where they come from or who they are or their skin color, you should stand up for yourself and have the courage to fight and create a platform or a community where everyone is treated equally as a person.
Yeah, and just to add on top of that, it means your voice matters. Don't be quiet, because if you're quiet, there's not going to be change. So voice up whatever is in your mind.
And does the movie deceit God's natural world in its glory? Is God's natural world deceived? And does the movie deceit God's natural world in its glory?
Yeah, yes, to some point. We can see when the Star's families, before they eat, they pray, and even during Khalil's funeral, there was a funeral service where the church stood with Khalil and they wanted to bring the people to justice.
And also, regarding the artistic aspects, do you think the movie is artistically well done, or it is imitative and plastic?
Well, that I think the movie is well done. It is realistic. We can relate in real life. So, especially when during the protest, the Maandamano thing where Star picks up a tear gas and throws it back to the police. That's something we can relate to, especially during the Gen Z protest. That is exactly what we as Gen Zs were doing during the protest. So it was just too realistic.
And it's realistic in terms of it's the same thing that happened to George Floyd in 2020 and the protest that was going on, and they had to stand up for their community.
Okay, and what elements of the movie were predictable? What is unique and refreshing about the movie?
Yeah, what was kind of predictable is the ending. I could predict that at last there is going to be a change in how the blacks are being treated. At last the king who was engaged in drugs was caught, and that was something I kind of predicted.
I predicted that Star will find herself, her authentic self, and she will love herself for who she is, and she will finally accept herself even in her different community in school.
Okay, could you elaborate on, does the story or does the movie mirror real world history, or is it historyless?
It mirrors the real world history because of the black people who have been killed by police in the recent time, in the past times, and even in today's world. There's still police brutality in both USA and even in Kenya today.
Yeah, and also there is a history of racism that is also brought into the picture. Over the years, there has been an issue of racism, and it is still there till date, and the history is there. Yeah.
And is the church present in the movie?
The church
It is present because the church stood with the people in advocating for justice for Khalil.
Yeah, though the movie does not majorly talk about the church, though in a small percentage it is there.
And also, are dramatic characters believable, or they are simplistic or static?
They're believable. For example, Aisha is stepmother to Star, who she has an attitude, and she's married to a drug dealer, the king lord of drugs in that community, and she's very bossy and she's rude to many people, and she's a don't scare, which is a really, she played her part well, and it's so natural because there are people who are married into those communities and they're abused, so they get this character being rude to people because that is how they live with their people in the family.
Yeah, sure. And I can say they are very authentic because they bring out their emotions. You can feel like really how they wanted it to come out, and it actually came out that way, especially with the emotions part where they are protesting and everyone is on the streets. It was just amazing.
Are people depicted as accountable, moral agents, or do they get away with it?
For her friend Khalil to get justice in the way he was murdered, and she is also here to find herself and accept herself as a black woman in her community.
And where did they come from?
To answer the question, where did she come from, is like trying to know where Star is shaped from, and Star is shaped from her community, the African American community, and that's why she is really fighting so that they can be accepted, since it's not a must for you to change where you came from, and that is where we get where Star came from.
Our panelists for being here this afternoon and for you guys sharing your valuable insights, and that is all.